See you loud and clear. Thank you. All right. So yeah, we were just giving a couple of moments to make sure everything was going technically smoothly. And now that it is 12:03, apologize for the slight delay. We will get started. So as I said, my name is Megan Steiner. My role in the Pennsylvania System for LEA School Improvement is the Human Capital Lead for K-12, which includes topics such as what we'll be discussing today, remote recruitment and hiring, not just for this particular school year, although it is relevant this school year, but also practices that can be useful overall. And my colleague Andrew Maddie, which is here as well, if you'd like to introduce yourself.
Hello, my name is Andrew Maddie, and I work as a program assistant along with Megan and other aspects of the CSI program out of the Lancaster Lebanon IU13.
All right, and now we'll turn it over to our colleague, Kristen, also if you'd like to briefly introduce yourself.
Oh, sure. Hi, good morning, everyone. I guess it's not technically morning any longer. My name is Kristen Leewald, and I work for Lancaster Lebanon IU13. My role is working with Pennsylvania System for LEA and School Improvement, which is where this learning opportunity is coming from. So welcome to all of you. Hope you're all doing well.
All right, and now we'll turn it over to our colleagues from the Urban Schools Human Capital Academy, who will be facilitating our content for this webinar.
Craig, you want to start?
Sure, I'll just quickly introduce myself. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Craig Chin. I'm with the Urban Schools Human Capital Academy, and I am a partner with the organization, primarily working with state organizations and many districts, both within the Commonwealth and also across the nation. And looking forward to working with Susan, who's going to introduce herself quickly.
I'm Susan Marks. I'll be the facilitator voice for today, and we're so glad that you're here. Welcome to this webinar on leveraging online platforms to better attract candidates. I am also a partner with the Urban Schools Human Capital Academy. Because of a little technical problem this morning, Craig is going to be managing the PowerPoint. So you'll be hearing me say to him, move a slide. We are, again, so excited that you're here. If you would like, we know that you put your name and your role when you join the webinar today, but if you can, in the chat box right now, we don't see who's here, and we'd love to know who is joining us today. So if you can put your role and your organization in the chat box, that would be great. We're going to be using the chat box today, and Megan and Craig are going to be monitoring your questions, and we hope that this webinar is very informal around making sure that we are responding to your needs. Things have changed, haven't they? In the past 4 months. And we know that many of you were using online platforms and we're going to go more deeply in that today. The focus is in how your LEA presents itself to potential candidates, and we're going to be focusing on recruiting and building a robust pipeline and a robust pool for you to use. Craig, you can change the slide. So today, we want you to learn how to leverage your website more effectively for recruiting. We know that you all have your own websites on your LEA site, but we're going to look more deeply into that, maybe take a little bit of audit about how effectively you're using that website. We're going to talk about how you use job posting websites and job descriptions to recruit effective educators, and how to market your LEA effectively through your website by using testimonials and social media. We all know when things were more personal and people would come to your district or to your LEA or to a school, candidates get a sense of what your LEA is like. And now we have to use more our websites and other ways to engage and hook candidates. And we will be talking about that today. Craig, you can go to the next one. So to get us started, we want you to use the chat function and share how you've modified your employment website since the beginning of the coronavirus. Have you made any changes? Have you instituted some different kinds of virtual recruiting strategies? Please share with us. Okay, Megan and Craig, I don't know if anybody has shared, but let's move on and get into some of the content from today. We want to keep in mind the through line for today's presentation. LEAs are moving from a traditional in-person recruiting and hiring to a more virtual environment. You were doing this before the coronavirus, but we know that it's even more important about how you're doing that. Your actions and strategies need to be practical and relatively easy to implement quickly to ensure full staffing for the opening of schools. We know that LEAs and the state are making decisions now about what school's going to look like. Maybe school will be online, there might be a hybrid, there might be 2 days a week where kids come to school, some of the kids, and then a day for cleaning, and then 2 days, we don't really know. So your actions and strategies really need to be flexible, and they need to be practical and easy. There's going to be maybe a number of starts to the school year this year. Some of you may not even know how many teachers you need. Teachers are still making decisions about whether they're coming back to school and how they're coming back to work. So I guess the operable word is flexibility. And the virtual hiring process needs to be positive for the candidate. As I said, candidates used to get a feel for the LEA when they visited schools, when they visited the LEA, the community, and now we have to do that online. The moment that that candidate clicks onto your website is the moment that that candidate experience begins. Craig, you can move on. So here is the context. What do we know? We need our schools to be fully staffed with strong, diverse teachers and leaders. And what does that mean in terms of during the coronavirus and during a time when there's a different kind of way that we are implementing our instructional program? A dynamic human resources website does more than just post jobs and accept job applications. While that's important, your website and the way that you present yourself virtually has to tell your LEA story. And what should that story be? How do you want candidates to think about your LEA? The use of social media will be even more important as LEAs increase virtual recruiting and hiring. And you have to be very intentional about the type of social media that you use. And we're going to be talking about that. I do have a daughter that is a millennial, and she only uses her smartphone to apply for jobs and to look at potential places where she might want to work. Craig, could you just go back a moment? Okay. The recruiting and hiring process should be dynamic and based on your context of your LEA. You are looking for the best fit. candidates. And when we talk about dynamic, it needs to be flexible and adaptable to the current situation. And as a friendly reminder, we want to ensure that any new interview processes and application questions are not in violation of any legislation or laws. And we have a link that, for you to the SHRM toolkit on interview questions and applications. And you should review your policies as you go into a more and maybe only virtual type of recruiting. Thank you, Craig. Go to the next one.
I'm just gonna make a note. I just mentioned this in the chat as well. Since we have such a small group, it is a summer Friday, as Kristen noted to us. We're opening it up so that if you want to just ask a question, make a comment, feel free to unmute yourself when you would like to mention something. We've given everyone the ability to do so if you would like. Also, earlier up in the chat box, I posted a link to the PDFs of these slides, so that if you want to follow any of these links that we'll be referring to, you will have that available to you on the PDF version of these slides. Thanks.
Great, thank you. Yes, feel free to ask any kind of question or make a comment. I want to point out that PDE in partnership with Lancaster Lebanon Intermediate Unit 13, TNTP, and the Urban Schools Human Capital Academy have put together an online toolkit that's really incredible. It really is sort of best in show about pulling together all these resources to support your move to virtual recruiting and hiring. These tools are differentiated, so you can use the tools and resources based on where you are in terms of your LEA needs, in terms of launch, development, or enhance. We hope that you do take the time after this webinar to navigate and explore these resources. They are quite incredible, and hats off to the team that put this together. The next slide. So let's explore more deeply how well you are using your website and other platforms. So Craig, go to the next slide. We want to talk about the key components that should be on your website. And this is an opportunity for you to do an audit and really look at your website maybe a different way than you've looked at it before. So the website should have an opportunity for people. There should be a career page that's easy to find. There should be a job application or a way to apply for jobs. And then we're going to talk also about the web page showing your community and culture of your LEA. So let's go into the career page. And at the top of this slide, we have keep it simple. It should be very simple for people to find the career page. Hopefully in your LEA, that careers link is right on the front page of your LEA's website. You don't want to bury job postings and descriptions. You want to make your website intuitive to navigate. You want there to be an array of devices such as smartphones and tablets that allow the candidate to get to your website. And as I said, millennials, they only use their smartphones. And you want to be continually analyzing the number of clicks it takes an applicant to get to the job postings. It should be 2 clicks or less. You don't want people to be navigating and lose interest. I know I really hate in terms of when you call helplines on the telephone that you have 10 things that you have to click before you get to a representative. So think about that. One of the things you may want to do is apply for a position yourself on your website. and see what your experience is. So remember, candidates have consistently identified a prospective employer's website as a top factor influencing their decision to apply, and is a key foundation to ensuring a positive candidate experience. So in terms of you're applying for a job specifically, again, you want to analyze the time it takes an applicant to complete the application. I know there's a lot of things that you need on your application, but again, try to audit the application and see as much as you can streamline. Again, you want to make it easy from various devices because a candidate is not going to spend a lot of time filling out the job application online. Hopefully there'll be a lot of fill-ins and you're just getting the information that you need. So you're getting the candidate in the pool so your principals can start to look at who are the candidates and are these people good matches for my school, my LEA. Okay, go to the next slide. And then a really important factor is how your website communicates your culture and community. It really is the hook that you need to get that candidate to say, I'm interested in that LEA as opposed to another LEA. So you want to provide seekers with a sense of what it is like to work in your LEA. Not only what it's like to work in your LEA, but also to expand that, what it might be like to live in your community. We also know that many people who work in teaching really do teach in areas that are close to where they're raised. So expanding on your community and what that has to offer is really important. And we'll talk about that in a little bit when we talk about how to market a small or rural district, because there are benefits to living in those areas. You want to post videos and testimonials as much as possible. You want to make your website very dynamic and very interesting. We know that millennials who really live and use social media all the time really like pictures, and they're looking at Instagram and TikTok and that. So it's really important to make your website interesting. You want to highlight great teachers and principals. Have people give those kinds of testimonials about why they are working in that LEA. And you want to create online opportunities for candidates to meet with current staff. When we usually do that, when it's on site, we can have a colleague or take a candidate around and talk about why it's great to work in this particular school or this LEA. So we have to do that online. And we'll be talking a little bit about really using emails to keep people warm and to support them in their process for applying to your district. Okay, Craig. So you want to determine the right messaging to set up your LEA apart from others. What is your value proposition? Why should I work for you? So you want to identify what differentiates your LEA. We know that you are competing for the same candidates, particularly the same diverse candidates. And so it's really very important that you do some thinking about that and really make sure that your website aligns to what your value proposition is. So what is your audience? Are you seeking candidates with specific experience or qualities? what are your specific needs in terms of hard to fill? And again, because we don't, maybe we don't know about what our vacancies are just yet because things are changing so rapidly, you need to be thinking about and projecting what are the candidates that we're going to be needing. You certainly are right now going to be looking for people who have good technological skills because really it looks like we're going to still be doing a lot of things online. You want to highlight the benefits of your district, and this is about, of your LEA. This is about your total compensation package. And if we have time today, I'm going to show you a website that really hones in on their total compensation package about supporting professional development, not only salary, but career ladders, your benefits, what makes your LEA unique, what is the total compensation package, if you have career, a tuition reimbursement, and other kinds of things that make your LEA stand out. Your reputation. Are there academic or social success metrics that distinguish your school system? Highlight your graduation rate. Highlight if you've gotten any kinds of awards. Your community. This is particularly important around smaller districts because people are looking for work-life balance, and working in a smaller district gives people a real sense of community. Working in cities is great too. And so you can highlight the kinds of things that candidates can garner when they come and work in your LEA. Endorsements, you want to highlight current employees and their experiences. You want to make it easy for candidates to hear what they have to say. If you have any local celebrities, I don't know if in Pittsburgh if they could get a Steeler to come and say something great about the school district, or some other area with local celebrities. It's really important to have endorsements and highlight your community. I also want to say that it could be that at this point, you're not all of you have the capacity right now to add new tech features to your websites or make some changes, but you should really start to look at the language and the wording on your website, and also to build for the future. We know that all of you have been using virtual recruiting even before the coronavirus, but it's time to really look at the intentionality of what you're communicating on your websites. So here's just a couple of screenshots. And again, I hope to go into some websites before we leave today. But in Boston, it's about relocating to Massachusetts and what it's like to live there. The second one is Osceola County in Florida, which is near Orlando, and they're highlighting some of their awards and successes. So they want you to be part of their success. And also it's a great place to live. Craig, you could go on. So we want you to scan your website again and to begin to look at how you're crafting your job descriptions and your postings to attract candidates. So, you know, you have your testimonials, you have, you know, great visuals. And then also candidates want to know what are they being asked to do? What are the requirements for the job? So you might want to take a look now at some of your job descriptions, particularly for the jobs that are hard to fill or where you're looking for specific candidates. And again, make sure that you're looking at and maybe highlighting the technology skills that some of these candidates might need. You want to share on your jobs what you're going to offer in terms of support for the candidate, so that the candidate will get great professional development. There will be leadership opportunities, get great support from their principals. You want to list the educator competencies that indicate who will be a good fit for your LEA. It's really important for the candidate to evaluate whether they think they're going to be a good fit. So tell them right up front. Don't make any kinds of surprises. You want to aim to attract candidates to align to your mission and values. There's a great resource, Opportunity Culture School Kit, that has a live link here. And on this toolkit, particularly beginning on page 5, there are specific examples of job descriptions. And these job descriptions are very detailed. So the challenge is you don't want to make job descriptions too long or too difficult to read, or that you want the facts, but you want to be as detailed as possible. Any questions or comments? So remember that your candidates are assessing whether they think your LEA is going to be a good match. So there's a lot of work that you do on your own website, but also it's important to look at other job search platforms. Here are some that are used in Pennsylvania, and also some that are used nationally. And I'd just like to point out their uses. Handshake is something that's especially good for recent graduates. It's the ability for graduates to go on there and see where there might be vacancies in LEAs. And this is important because they're not having on-site job fairs on campuses. So recent graduates are going on to Handshake. LinkedIn is important and is very useful for administrators, central office candidates, and it is helpful to really put on LinkedIn what you're looking for. And also on these job search platforms, make sure that you are linking to your application. SchoolSpring is a very robust platform that's a national platform. And I know that you have PA Educator as well as Pennsylvania REAP. So again, it is really important, not necessarily that you go on all of these, but that you are looking at which of these websites and these platforms give you the most bang for your buck. Where are you getting the biggest clicks that are interested in your LEA, and that you are getting candidates who are going to help you build that robust pool that you need. Okay. So let's go a little bit deeper into how we use virtual sourcing for diverse candidates and high quality candidates. Always look at your recruitment strategies and know what is working and what is not working. You always are assessing and tweaking in terms of the information that you're getting from people who are applying through either your website or these virtual platforms. So you want to assess the strengths and areas for growth within your current recruitment and sourcing strategies. And then you want to design and facilitate virtual processes for recruitment and hiring strategies that really are going to get you what you want. Remember, I said cast a wide net for job postings, but also don't go on platforms that aren't getting you candidates. Let candidates know that you're still hiring and share any changes to timelines or events. We know that things are changing every day. And, you know, in the spring, you had a lot of virtual job fairs that were helpful, and now you may be putting out that again. You may be having more job fairs or other kinds of interviewing activities. So you need to keep your website really current. If you have someone in your LEA who can have that as a responsibility, the thing that candidates hate is to click on something and have old information. It is incredibly important that you keep all the information updated. And this is not so easy, particularly when you're using a variety of platforms. So you need to make sure that you are keeping everything current. And I just want to put out that, again, because of the changing situation, you may feel that you are fully staffed for what you need in terms of what school is going to look like for the upcoming school year, but things may change. You may have in October, heightened number of resignations. And so you always have to keep your recruiting robust, and you're always building your pool. Pretty soon there'll be December graduates. There are people who have put on hold some of their alternative certification programs, but they're now getting back to that. And so you always want to be communicating that we're still hiring, particularly for hard to fill areas. And emails should be clear, prominent. There should be a call to action. Again, make sure that people know where to apply. We're also going to be talking about emails as a way to keep candidates warm. Again, many of the LEAs might be having issues with budget. We know that the federal government may be looking at some relief for state governments and LEAs, and so right now there may be some budget issues that you're having, and you may not be able to hire everyone that you want, but in the future you may be. So you need to keep emails really clear about what the current situation is, and make sure that candidates know that when they click apply, that it is linking to either job fairs or various interview activities. Let me talk about applicant tracking systems for a moment. Some of you may have robust applicant tracking systems that you're able to keep data about where people are in terms of the process in your recruiting efforts. So you might know where people are. I've showed an interest, I've applied, I've interviewed, they're at the job offer, they're hired. Some of you have homemade ways of doing that, and you can do that very easily through Excel spreadsheets and that, but you want to document and manage all that applicant activity. It's really important to look at, are we keeping people interested, or do they opt out of our LEA? And what can we do relative to our virtual recruiting strategies to make sure that they are interested. Are there any questions right at the moment?
And you can unmute yourselves now. We've given that ability. I saw that Sarah had raised your hand for a question or a comment.
Sorry, I don't know why I had that hit. It must have been on accident.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, so let's talk about making your LEA come alive in a little bit more detail. Here are two examples that I think are really quite interesting. Again, we talk about taking a quick audit of your job descriptions, of what your websites look like, what your links to platforms look like, but what's going to give you a competitive edge. And Beaver County or Utah is a very small district. I think they have 3 schools. They're about a few hundred miles, couple hundred miles from Salt Lake City. It's a very interesting place. They have a 612 school for middle school and high school, and a couple of elementary schools. And they were looking for a math teacher. And they actually, the principal of this school, where they were looking for a math teacher, had developed relationships with a lot of the universities in Utah, which were very far away from Beaver County. But he made those relationships and connected, and when they had a vacancy, was able to recruit from various parts of the state. And they talked about, you know, we may be a small rural district, but there is a great life that you can have. So they talked about work-life balance. They talked about the importance that you're going to get individualized attention and support from the leaders in this school district. This job in specifically, the person was going to have 4 or 5 preparations. It wasn't an easy job. And they had numerous applicants and were able to fill the position, but they sold the total package. And the idea that people who come to Beaver County stay in Beaver County, and they really have a great life. And some people are looking for that. An unintended consequence, well, not a consequence, I guess a good thing from this situation and the economic downturn is that we know that education benefits from that. But people, because of the coronavirus, may be saying, well, you know, I do want to go near my family. I want to be there. So we should look at all of those kinds of things to help us with our recruiting strategy. KIPP Massachusetts talks about the kind of person that they want and what they're all about. So they talk about their core values, and they say, join a dedicated and dynamic team of KIPP Massachusetts. Our faculty and staff are part of a supportive team that works collaboratively to provide the highest quality education to our students. And again, I want to emphasize that you really should make sure that your career tab on all your websites are up to date. And this is sometimes challenging. Develop a checklist to make sure when you make changes or you change timelines that you check all the virtual platforms that you're using. Thank you, Craig. Go ahead. Again, here's some website examples, and we may have some time to look at these in person. But again, it is important to talk about your district and as vibrant and diverse, and what you want people to know. Prince William County Public Schools is about 40, 50 miles from Washington, D.C. And they are talking about that they want you here. And remember, we're all competing for a lot of the same candidates. You can go ahead. These are some example websites, and again, hopefully we'll get to a couple of them. You could go to the next one, Craig. We want to give you a prompt, and you can feel free to do this verbally, unmute yourself. So we've talked about some best practices. Are there ways that you are thinking about upgrading your website at the moment from what we talked about today? Some things you haven't thought about?
Not really in charge at the IU, but I think it's very interesting, and I find job applications tend to be very challenging just because they usually need so many different pieces of paperwork. And I almost wonder if jobs couldn't get to like a pre-screener, and if they're interested, then they ask for more information rather than, you know, as a teacher in Pennsylvania, you have to have all your clearances ready whenever you submit your application. But I love the idea of having jobs easy to find and easy to apply for online on mobile devices.
Yeah, you know, I think it is about what works for you and what works for your LEA. You know, your context is very important. So, you know, also we always recommend, because we think that the candidate, and we know that the candidate experience is so important, is for you to talk to your candidates about what made them choose your LEA. What were the things that really stood out for them? So the idea of you know, doing a big push first about here's who we are, and you know, we are interested in you, and if you're interested in us, you know, click here and find out more information. And then here's where you can use email, having teacher ambassadors reach out to candidates, particularly if there are candidates who went to their college or universities. If you're looking for, we all are diverse candidates, and you hone in on historically Black colleges and universities. If you have people in your LEA who graduated from those colleges, have them reach out. So it is really talking to the candidates and hearing from them what resonated with them and what made them want to continue the process of applying to your LEA.
Susan, do you mind if I add a quick comment?
Oh, please do.
Yeah, in your that was a great comment about sort of, I sort of think of the barriers to entry, and a lot of districts we work with, we try to work with districts to identify sort of what are the sort of obstacles, or what are you asking candidates to do even before they even get a chance to interview with a decision maker. And I know there's some districts that we've seen are requiring a lot up front, whether it be official transcripts, whether it be background checks, even before they're considered as an applicant. So the one thing that I would like the team to think of is, you know, sort of what are we asking candidates to do even before they get a chance to interview with the principal. And the idea is that as they move along in the process, obviously it should be more stringent, it should be a very rigorous, which is all makes sense, but also asking them what kind of, lack of a better term, paperwork you're requiring can make or break, if you will, candidates sort of persevering, if you will, through the process.
Okay, let's move on. So let's take just a few slides on the use of other social media platforms. Next slide. So at every stage of our engagement, we need to use technological platforms to effectively connect. My daughter told me last night that Facebook is, you know, old hat for millennials. You want Twitter and Instagram. how comfortable are you in terms of your experience with using different social platforms? Millennials use social media to learn, to engage, and challenge their thinking. You know, they look at their phone first thing in the morning when they get up and see what's happening on these various websites. They like stories and pictures and action. They like dynamic kinds of visuals, but they're also saturated with information. And so you need to choose your social media strategically to get their attention. There are two, just to differentiate the ways of using social media. There's social media for marketing, and we talked a lot about that in terms of your websites, your social networking, microblogging, saying, you know, short little stories about who you are, creating communities, personal messages, other content. And then there's social recruiting for sourcing. And that's where you are having people apply, you're using your applicant tracking system, but also applying directly to, for career opportunities on Facebook or Twitter or LinkedIn. And each of these should be used for a different strategy. And you need to know how you're using the different platforms. Craig, you could go on to the next one. You know, so there are two tools that the Urban Schools Human Capital Academy have. One is social media in K-12, and that does look at, you know, how you use Facebook, who's your audience for LinkedIn, who's your audience for Twitter, who's your audience for Instagram. And again, what you want to do is be very strategic in choosing which of these social media platforms works for you. And then the second tool is use of social media in screening candidates. And this one is, I wouldn't say controversial, but a little bit more challenging. So this tool has you think through if you're using your candidates' social media as a way of getting information about them. And that is, I know when I was in Montgomery County, we Googled all external candidates for principal positions or central office positions. I know that many of our parents, when there were new teachers that were coming to their schools, they would Google those new teachers. So it's important to know how you're going to use that and make sure that there are policies in your district that support that. So we know that many LEAs are Googling candidates, particularly for administrative positions. So it's something that you need to think through thoughtfully. If you are able to reallocate budget resources for subscriptions to virtual job sites or other social media, base your decisions on the effectiveness of those sites. We talk a little bit, I think in the next slide, I talk about trying to get premium subscriptions if you can, because premium subscriptions allow you to collect data on the use of the social media platforms and gives you more options. Track engagement on the platforms. This is so important. Just as you are tracking and looking at what pathways where you get the best teachers, you need to look at where you are getting the most candidates and adjust your activities. So for example, if you find that postings featuring students have the highest engagement, of people, of candidates, then feature that more. And again, use email to keep in frequent touch with candidates, to keep candidates warm. Again, on the wonderful toolkit from PDE and the Intermediate Unit 13, there's more specific examples of this. Next slide, Craig. Okay, and again, just in terms of sort of summarizing social media for marketing, your websites, microblogging on online communities, make sure there are that you are focusing on key demographics, hard to staff, STEM, special ed, other local initiatives, social recruiting for sourcing. You want to make sure you're posting to various social media platforms, but not all of them. Make good decisions about the effectiveness. Recruit and source candidates and advertise, and make sure that your advertising is marketing the core values of your LEA and what you are looking for in your candidates. And again, make sure that your policies really support you in doing this. And many LEAs have policies about student and teacher use of social media, but you need to have a policy about HR use of social platforms and media. Next. This is sort of a last slide that focuses on putting everything together and connecting your social media and recruiting platforms, your website. So the who, define your audience. Again, this may be changing because we may get a bump of people who want to go into teaching, have felt that they want to do something that's more meaningful. Make the how, make applying easy. Encourage your own employees to make referrals, contribute to discussion through social networking, make things simple to communicate to your candidates, make sure that things are up to date, create a job posting schedule, measure and track your social recruiting efforts, including views, likes, and comments, and use that information to make your virtual recruiting even better and more effective. The what, focus your message and explain it simply. What do you want the audience to know about your LEA brand? Build a strong employer brand. Share as much as you can about your LEA culture, vision, benefits, value proposition, and create interest in your jobs by posting useful information, photos or video. And then again, focus, be as broad as you can, but focus on a few sites that your candidates can use more often. And if you can afford it, own some premium accounts. Don't use your own personal account, but really get an account for your LEA. Next slide. We have, I think, about 5 minutes, or we could talk about if you have made any kinds of changes of social media, if there's any kinds of platforms that have been helpful for you. Or Craig, go to the next slide. And also, you know, if you want to share some takeaways or any kinds of suggestions that you may have. If we have a minute or so, we can go live on some of the websites. But I'd like to hear from you about any kinds of takeaways or any kinds of things that you might share that through the last 4 months that you have done in terms of emphasizing and focusing in on social media platforms.
Another question I'm curious is, do any of you sort of deputize existing teachers, principals, what have you, to get on social media and let their networks know that you're hiring for a certain position or that they should consider your school or your LEA? That's another way that was sort of alluded to here as well, of using social media and online platforms for recruitment.
Yeah.
Did you mean, Megan, like, doing little video clips of them talking about how great it is to work, at this organization and this school? And is that what you mean?
Yes, or just simply sharing existing information about job openings with their networks, both those sorts of things.
Like ambassadors.
Yep. Mm-hmm. I see a request to go to a live link, and I think that's great. Craig, could you go to the last slide? Go to the next slide. I think we have a minute or two. Will you click on Osceola?
Sure.
It's in mobile friendly. Osceola has an applicant tracking system where candidates can apply on their smartphone, and it takes about 5 to 10 minutes to apply. Are you able to?
Yeah, sorry, let me just share. It was just sharing that particular screen. Give me a sec to add a share here. Can everyone see the website?
Yeah. So if you could scroll down, careers at Osceola County, they're going to what we're looking for, how to apply, teach with us. It's right there. You can view all jobs. Go to what we offer, because I think this is really, and scroll up again. If you could scroll a little bit more. It's not allowing you to scroll. Yeah, scroll. So when we talk about total compensation, stop here. Osceola, stop here. Osceola has medical, dental, visual, retirement system, employee wellness programs, no state income tax, their salary. They have health centers on their campuses, in their schools. Teachers don't have to take a lot of time off. They could go to the health center if they need something right on their campus. Employee assistance, insurance, early release Wednesdays, professional development, certification, testing services. So they don't necessarily pay more than their LEAs around them, but they offer a strong total compensation package. If you could go back and go to Palm Beach.
Yep.
To that last slide, and go to the school district of Palm Beach County. And you see where careers make a difference. If you could scroll up. Welcome to the district. Their job are right there to click and apply for, and then go up again a little bit more. And they talk about Forbes, which rated this as a great employer in 2016. And then they have testimonials, live testimonials from teachers and others. I know we're coming to the end of our session. Please take a moment to look at these websites. They're great examples for you to use. And if you are a small district and you may not have a robust tech department, use your high school seniors and juniors who can help you with your website and video clips and that. But you can really make your virtual presence incredibly dynamic. If you could go back, Craig, to the next to the last slide. And I want to thank Megan and her team for the opportunity to share these strategies with you today. Again, remember all resources and toolkits are available along with this recording of the webinar. This webinar will be repeated on July 24th at 3 o'clock Eastern Time. And then we will have another webinar focusing in on the virtual hiring experience on the 22nd of July at 12 p.m. and on the 27th at, I think that's 4 p.m. And Megan, is there anything that you want to say as we say thank you and goodbye to our participants today?
I just want to draw your attention to, I just posted in the chat my email address. So if folks have any other questions or would have any other ideas they'd like to share with us, anything like that, please feel free to email me. I see that Kristen just posted my colleague Andrew's contact information as well about the upcoming webinars. And finally, I know I've posted this website quite a number of times in the past hour, but the main website for this whole recruitment hiring toolkit is also where we'll be posting the video, the recording from this webinar, and it's also where we have information about all the different topics we've discussed today and other topics regarding remote recruitment and hiring. So thanks very much and have a great weekend, everyone.
Thank you.